A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and very warm welcome to the Apical 2030 launch online webinar. And first, let me introduce myself. My name is Monica Chua, the host and also the moderator for today's event, and I'm very happy and very delighted to be here today to host our show. And ladies and gentlemen, before we start, let me inform you that all the crews and also the guests that are present on site today have complied to strict health protocols of the COVID-19, and we will also like to inform you that the Apical 2030 launch online webinar is held in hybrid mode, and today's event will also feature speeches, presentation, and of course interactive dialogue with all of our speakers. And ladies and gentlemen, in today's session we will get an overview of Apical 2030, understand the strategic pillars and also the targets of Apical 2030, and gain insights on the journey to Apical 2030 and address queries relating to Apical sustainability commitment. And now let's begin by greeting our key speakers and also our guests today. First, we have joined virtually Dato' Yohao, the president of Apical Group. A very good morning to you, Dato' Yohao. And of course, we have Pratiban Karunagaran, the Executive Director of Apical Group. A very good morning to you as well, Mr. Pratiban. And next, we have Mr. Bremen Yong, the Head of Sustainability at Apical Group, who are joining us virtually today. And next, we have on site with me today, we have Pak Peter Setiabudi, the Director of Apical Group Balikpapan Operations. And we have Pardemuan Perlindungan, Director of Apical Oleochemicals Marunda. A very warm welcome to you once again, ladies and gentlemen. And without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Peter Setiabudi, the Director of Apical Group Balikpapan Operations, for the opening remarks. To Mr. Peter, please, the stage is yours.
Yes. Good morning, our honorable guests from the government, customers, supply chain partners, media friends, and all those who are joining online and on-site. Welcome to the launch of Apical 2030. My name is Peter Setiabudi. As the world progresses, and with the looming challenges on climate, environment, and communities, we believe in ensuring as a business, we are able to contribute positively and make a lasting impact. Today marks a very special milestone as we launch Apical 2030, our strategic sustainability issues. With many targets and initiatives in place, we are progressing significantly to make a strong and lasting sustainability impact. Stay tuned, as we will be sharing a lot more insight on Apical 2030. Once again, a very warm welcome to all of you, and thank you for spending your morning with us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peter, for the excellent remarks. Let's give a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And next, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dato' Yohao, the president of Apical Group, who will give his opening speech to open today's event. And a very good morning to you, Dato' Yohao. Please, the stage is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Distinguished officials, partners, customers, NGOs, and media friends, thank you for joining us at this launch of Apical 2030. As you know, palm oil is the most widely produced, consumed, and traded vegetable oil in the world. Highly versatile in usage and extremely efficient in yield, the industry has seen a significant increase in global production and has become an important economic crop for many emerging and developing nations. Its success has also attracted questions with regards to its sustainability. As such, in meeting the growing global demand for vegetable oils, it is crucial that the industry continues to produce it sustainably. Sustainability is core to the way we run our business. Across our footprint, we are committed to our purpose of improving lives by developing resources sustainably. With the many initiatives and programs in place, we are always striving to do our part in building a transparent, traceable, and sustainable palm oil supply chain. As we expand our business, we have reached out to more and more suppliers to positively engage them to commit to our sustainability policies and to assist them to change as required. In the process, we have helped in the positive transformation of the industry. Thanks to the collaboration and support we have received from each of you, we have together made significant progress for a traceable and sustainable supply chain. However, as the industry continues to evolve rapidly, those achievements and progress alone aren't enough. Today marks a milestone for us as we advance our sustainability commitment with Apical 2030. As a responsible global corporate citizen, we recognize the need to continuously drive a transformative and sustainable change in the palm oil sector. Apical 2030 fuels this ambition for us. Centered on creating a positive social, environmental, and business impact, Apical 2030 includes ambitious, sustainability-focused targets around 4 strategic pillars, namely transformative partnerships, climate action, green innovation, and inclusive progress, details of which will be unveiled today. But briefly, to mention that besides the core issue of sustainability, Apical 2030 also addresses important UN SDG goals. With our expiring targets, we will also live up to our business philosophy of doing what's right for the community, country, climate, and customers. Only then will it be good for our company, our 5 Cs. Building a more sustainable supply chain requires the commitment and collective effort of all parties, industry partners, customers, palm oil companies, independent smallholders, and NGOs, among many others. As the saying goes, coming together is a beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is success. Let us continue the journey together. Thank you.
Let's give a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Dr. Yohao, for the excellent remarks. And next, moving on to our next agenda, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to invite virtually Mr. Pratipan Karunagara, the Executive Director of Apical Group, who will deliver his speech today. To Mr. Pratipan, please, the stage is yours.
Good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome to all of you. As you have heard, Apical 2030 is our long-term sustainability commitment. As a leading global palm oil processor, we acknowledge the contribution and important role we play in the markets we operate in. As such, our sustainability targets are intended to support the national agenda for an ESG perspective. To achieve our targets, we recognize the needs to localize our efforts, ensuring we contribute to a better and more sustainable future for all of us by 2030. Given so, Apical 2030 takes into account the current landscape. We have set targets to address current challenges and also identified opportunities to meet our ESG goals. To begin with, the palm oil industry is highly fragmented and the supply chain is complex. As we know, to make the cultivation of palm oil more sustainable, transparency into the supply chain is key. The highly fragmented and complex supply chain can make it challenging to trace palm oil back to its source and hinder efforts to prevent, identify, and address environmental and social issues within a supply chain. Secondly, the certification of smallholder is critical. Independent smallholders are self-financed and often their limited expertise and resources to produce palm oil effectively and sustainably impacts the sector as a whole. With smallholders making up about 45% of the palm oil production in Indonesia, it is imperative that we help facilitate their inclusion into the global sustainable supply chain by 1. Bridging the knowledge gap by sharing technical know-hows to improve their yields and paving their way for them to achieve RSPO certification. We have many initiatives to address this, with SMILE program, which stands for Smallholder Inclusion for Better Livelihood and Empowerment, being the most recent. Distinguished guests, given the evolving landscape, we need to drive and accelerate transformation within the industry. For instance, through innovation and advanced technological solutions, efforts to reduce GHG emission, remove deforestation, and drive habitat conversion can be realized a lot faster and more seamlessly. Aside from that, sustainability-linked financing, which is gaining uptake, is also a driver of positive ESG change. In such financing, borrowers are able to enjoy real economic benefits through financial incentives when ESG targets are met. They are just some of the many insights. It is clear that a commitment and collective effort of all parties are needed for a more sustainable and responsible supply chain. We are certain that a time-bound sustainable roadmap we have set for Apical 2030 will enable us to commit to meaningful actions for a lasting impact. As we journey to Apical 2030, we look forward to the close collaboration and support from each and every one of you. To sum up, an inclusive approach is the best way forward for a sustainably responsible palm oil industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pratipan, for the excellent remarks. Let's give a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, to Mr. Pratipan. And next, moving on, ladies and gentlemen, we'll come to one of the main agenda of our event today, which is the unveiling of the new logo of Apical 2030. So let's begin the countdown, ladies and gentlemen. We will see the new Apical 2030 logo, where this year we have 4 strategic pillars, which is the transformation partnership with innovation, climate action, and inclusive progress. And this year's logo, Apical 2030, represents a lot of aspects of the sustainability. Okay, let's wait for a few more seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, and now to dig deeper into the Apical 2030, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear from Mr. Bremen Yong as the head of sustainability of Apical Group. To Mr. Bremen, a very good morning to you. Please, the stage is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Special thanks to our honorable guests and fellow colleagues who are here with us today. It has been a meaningful journey Apical has gone through over the years. Thanks to support from our partners and industry peers that we have worked together in making sustainability an important part of our business. I believe today is an exciting day for all of us to witness the launch of Apical 2030. This is an important milestone for Apical Group to making our next level of commitment, especially allowing us to contribute even more meaningfully to the community, country, climate, and our customers, and only then will be good for us as a company. This is consistent with Apical 5C business philosophy. So without further ado, let me share more about Apical 2030. Apical 2030 is a strategic sustainability initiative that helps to lay the foundations for the long-term directions of Apical Group in the way we operate and grow in a sustainable manner. Under this Apical 2030, there are 4 strategic pillars. Each of the strategic pillars represents a core focus area which is important for our key stakeholders and our business. It was derived from the wisdoms of our 5C business philosophy, and besides that, also aligned with the UN SDGs. And we believe through this commitment that we are setting through this Apical 2030, it is important for us to support national initiatives and government ambitions towards emission reduction as well. Under the first strategy pillar, transformative partnerships, it is about collaborating with suppliers to drive positive supply chain transformation through partnership. The second strategic pillar, climate actions, reflecting Apical commitment to combat climate change through technology innovations and also natural-based solutions. The third strategy pillar, green innovations, is about how to make use of technology to support other targets as well as making our operations more efficient and sustainable. The fourth strategic pillar, inclusive programs, is about involving the people, community, and farmers in the process. When a business grows, we believe we all have to grow together. Under the first strategy pillar, transformative partnerships, we have several key targets. The first target is about collaborating with the supplier to achieve 100% NDP compliant supply chain by 2025. This is very important, not only for our customers, but also for suppliers, but for overall the supply chain. In order to achieve this, we need to engage with suppliers through our Apical implementation, sustainability implementation framework. We have a satellite monitoring system able to identify the risk, supply chain risks that they're facing our suppliers, and also through our anchor programs and also NDP compliant model, we are able to engage the supplier and promote sustainable good practices so that the supply chain is compliant with our policy by 2025. The next target about engaging 100% of the supplier for traceability, third-party verification by 2025. We believe this is very important because traceability to manage or monitor our supply chain effectively. To enhance our commitment further, we have this traceability verification guidance document being developed by our consultant, which we will implement using the third-party verifications to fully engage our suppliers by 2025. The next target about collaborating with the supplier to promote clean energy. Because as we are aware that one of the key emission factors in the palm oil supply chain is coming from waste. And one of the most effective way to reduce emissions is through biogas plant. Therefore, for us, we feel that it is important for us to work together with suppliers to establish 20 biogas plants to reduce the emissions in the supply chain. The next target about partnering with the supplier to protect and conserve 150,000 hectares of forest and peatland within the landscape of Apical sourcing area by 2030. Forest protection has been a very important topic, and also it is very important for us to ensure that the forest has been protected within our supply chain. In order to achieve this, first we need to identify the forest area within our supply concession and also the sourcing area using remote sensing technology. Then we will engage our supplier through our anchor programs to encourage our suppliers to protect and conserve the forest, and also within the sourcing areas that are supplying to our supply chain, to our suppliers. By doing so, we believe the first thing, of course, is very important to protect the ecosystem service, and also secondly, through the carbon sequestration, it will contribute to carbon reduction as well. And to achieve that, we also aim to establish 20 deforestation-free villages together with the supplier and villagers. The next strategic target about climate actions. The first target about reducing 50% of GHG emission GHG emission intensity in the production by 2030. And this is the roadmap which is critical for us to achieve the net zero by 2050. We believe by doing so, it is important for us as a company to combat climate change and also to support carbon initiative in reducing the carbon in the supply chain. The next strategic pillar about green innovations. We aim to have achieved 38% of the total energy source to come from renewable and green energy source by 2030. To achieve that, we will leverage on technology to improve the energy efficiency and also to come up with new process and also the low carbon initiative in order to identify the greener and more sustainable energy sources. We also aim to achieve circular solutions to improve water use intensity by 30% by 2030. The next strategy pillar is about inclusive progress. We have a target to support community through 30 sustainable living village by 2030. So what do we mean by sustainable living village? Is to by working together with a supplier and villages to incorporate sustainable good practices, work together to protect forests, improve the livelihood, improve the resilience of the community through the programs we are going to design and work together with the villages. We also have a target to support 5,000 independent smallholders to get certified by 2030. We believe that by certifying the smallholders, it is a very important and effective way to improve the smallholder livelihood through increased productivity and also increase earning or the income by selling certified palm oil or certified FFB. So in a snapshot, you can see that under the Apical 2030, there are 4 key strategic pillars. Each of the strategic pillars address different aspects of the sustainability. For example, transformative partnerships. It addresses the needs to manage the supply chain effectively to be NDP compliant and traceable through third-party verifications. And also it emphasizes the need to protect and conserve forests and also to reduce emission through biogas plants. Climate actions are clearly contributing to the emission reductions. Green innovations will support other targets, especially climate actions, also by leveraging of the circular solution to improve the water use efficiency. Lastly, inclusive progress, meaning when the business grow, we have to involve the community, farmers, and people together so that we all grow together. So before I end my sessions, I think from what I shared about so far is that we are on the right track. And we believe that there are many like-minded individuals or organizations out there which are aiming for the same directions. And I believe that to make it happen and to make a lasting impact, we have to work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brahmanyong, for the intervention. A lot of strategic targets by Apical in 2030. Thank you very much once again. And next, ladies and gentlemen, coming on to our next agenda, we will now watch the official and also the launching video of Apical 2030. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give a round of applause for Apical 2030.
Apical 2030 is to support our business growth sustainably. Sustainability has always been at the heart of Apical's business. And now, we're taking that even further with Apical 2030. With 11 targets across 4 pillars, Apical 2030 is our roadmap to transform our business to be a leading integrated supplier of sustainable palm oil, while driving the impacts of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. We're committed to transformative partnerships with stakeholders throughout the supply chain to ensure no deforestation, no peat, and no exploitation by 2025. To engage 100% suppliers for independently verified traceability to plantation by 2025. To protect and conserve 150,000 hectares of forest and peatland. And to build 20 biogas plants to reduce emissions. We're taking urgent climate action by reducing the greenhouse gas emission intensity in our production by 2030 and reaching net zero by 2050. Apical will leverage green innovation to reduce our emissions and make our operations more sustainable. Apical targets 38% of its total energy use to be derived from renewable and clean energy sources, improve water intensity by 30% through circular solutions, and we're empowering people and improving livelihoods to ensure inclusive progress. We're supporting 20 deforestation-free villages and 30 sustainable living villages to prevent deforestation and encourage sustainable and resilient economic development. And we're helping 5,000 independent smallholder farmers achieve sustainability certification by 2030. Apical 2030 is our pathway to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all.
Together, we can make an impact.
Let's give a round of applause once again, ladies and gentlemen, for the official video of Apical 2030. And ladies and gentlemen, as shared by Dr. Yohao, sustainability is integral to Apical's Group business and, of course, operation. Guided by Apical's Group 5 C's business philosophy, Apical Group aspire to make a positive social, environmental, and business impact by delivering on all of Apical's Group ambitions, Apical 2030 targets that we just watched in the video. And next, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to invite our speakers for an interactive dialogue session. But before that, we would like to inform you, if you would like to ask a question, you may do so with the format name, affiliation, question, and who your question is addressed for, and your question will be answered in the Q&A session. So let's start by inviting our speakers on site today. First, of course, we have Mr. Peter Setiabudi, Director of Apical Group, Balikpapan Operations, and Mr. Pardamuan Pralindungan, Director of Apical Oleochemicals, Marunda. Please join me on stage, Pak Peter, and of course, Pak Pardamuan. And while Dr. Yohao, the President of Apical Group, Mr. Pratipan Karunagaran, and Executive Director of Apical Group, Mr. Brahman Yong, as the Head of Sustainability of Apical Group, is joining us via Zoom later. Okay, so how are you today, Pak Peter, Pak Pardamuan?
Good.
Good? All good?
Good and
Good,
healthy.
yeah? Get good and healthy. That's the most important, yeah, Pak Peter, yeah. Okay, so let's start, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to go first, and I would like to go to Dato' Yo first. Dato', we've seen the 4 strategic pillars of Apical 2030, so we want to know, how were these pillars chosen by Apical 2030?
Well, the 4 pillars are closely linked to how we would like to grow our business sustainably and strategically. So as you can see, most of our oil are sourced from third parties, notably from smallholders, and hence the focus on positive engagement and collaborating with the stakeholders along the supply chain in order to effect the transformation, hence transformative partnership. Then the second area we focus on are areas that are directly within our control, our processes. So how to reduce the intensity of our carbon emission, to eliminate waste, to recycle, and so on, and to be able to make use of a new technology in an innovative manner. Hence the second and third pillar of climate action, and green innovation. And lastly, of course, our philosophy of doing business, the focus on 5C. So, how to work on the UN SDG, especially poverty alleviation. So bringing along the community, improving their livelihood.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yo. And next, I would like to go to Mr. Brahman. Mr. Brahman, if we look right now, we're like 8 years away from accomplishing the 2030 Apical. So how far are we currently, maybe in percentage?
Well, for most of the target we set, right. So in fact, actually, we already started some actions. For example, some of the programs we already implemented, or some of them we are at the design stage, also working with consultants, etc. But talking about percentage, it could be too early to talk about the percentage, as we are using 2020 or the latest benchmark as a baseline. I would say we are in a very interesting journey going forward. Thanks.
Raman, and now let's move on to challenges, and I would like to go to Mr. Pradeep on the challenges. What are the top sustainability related challenges that Apical and of course the industry players is facing as a whole and need to be addressed currently?
I would say palm oil, the supply chain itself, it's highly fragmented and complex. Therefore, bringing about the transparency and the traceability into the supply chain is a big challenge. And we pay a lot of focus as Apical being one of the largest midstream processor. We consider ourselves an influencer in the supply chain. Hence, we put a lot of effort into traceability and transparency to make sure that there is identification process in the supply chain. Secondly, I would say the smallholder. 45% of the Indonesian palm oil supply comes from the smallholder. Hence, it's important to take them along with us in this journey. And how do we help them? We have a program such as Bremen has earlier mentioned, SMILE, wherein we work with almost 5,000 farmers in southern Sumatra to help them achieve certification and therefore improve their income, improve the premiums that they get. All of this has to be done in a collaboration. As we always say, and as we always believe, sustainability is a shared responsibility. So we all must work together to make this happen.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Pradeep. And next, let's move back to Mr. Brahman. Mr. Brahman, we know that ensuring certification and improving the yields of the independent smallholders have been a primary concern. So how is Apical contributing in this area?
Thanks. I think we all know that the smallholders or the palm oil farmers play a very important role in the productions of palm oil in Indonesia. And also we recognize that these are the group of farmers that really need help and support from companies and also from various parties in terms of improving productivity and also to get them certified, etc. So for Apical Group as a midstream company, we also have the influence and responsibility in working together with suppliers and helping the smallholders. For example, we launched this program together with our upstream and downstream partners called SMILE. Untuk is a smallholder inclusion for better livelihood and empowerment programs. So this program is a 10-year program that spans until 2030 with the aim to improve the smallholder livelihood through certifications. The way how we are going to achieve that is what we believe by true certifications, we are able to promote sustainable good practices, able to build the knowledge and share knowledge, and also build for capacity buildings with the smallholders as how they can manage their plantation more effectively. And ultimately through selling of the certified FFB, so the smallholders will be able to get a premium or better price for the products they are selling, and ultimately contributing to the better income and livelihood of the smallholders. I think this is a very effective way which we believe will help the smallholder farmers. And of course, going beyond that, we are also looking into other possibilities, for example, helping smallholders by working with suppliers to get them organized in the cooperative, for example. This could be the direction going forward as well, in the way of how we are going to support the farmers. Ultimately, by doing all this, I believe this will build a successful case or a sustainable model really, which is feasible for the smallholders. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brahman. Maybe Pak Peter or Pak Pardomon would like to add to Brahman's statement. You may do so. Maybe to Pak Peter first.
Maybe I will add the last question to Pak Brahman. Yeah. So basically, with the SMILE program, of course, it will impact our operation, especially in the supply chain. You know, by doing this program, of course, we can enhance our smallholder partner to produce with higher quality, to produce with the high yield, and then, of course, with how to gain the certificate, gain the premium. And of course, eventually, it will affect to Apical, which is Apical, we can get the oil with the good oil, we get the premium, and of course, the big impact is Apical can get a bigger traceability to plantation, and of course, improve on the NDPE, our NDPE compliance. So all of this will impact improvement in our supply chain.
Okay, so as a whole, the SMILE will improve the supply chain of Apical, yeah, Pak Peter,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, now moving on to Pak Pardamuan. Pak Pardamuan, tell us more about the digital transformation within the industry. Is there any current, maybe examples of transformative initiative within Apical's manufacturing line?
Thank you. We take note that we have many uses and benefit of the digital transformative in our industry. That result is a greater positive impact on environment in our manufacturing facility. To date, some of our transformative effort is include this automation for industrial manufacturing to ensure safer packaging for our employees. Also, precise measurement for tank fillings in oil facility to avoid any oil spills. Implementing TMMS, is a tank measurement monitoring system, and support any leakage in any of our tanks. These are added initiative and effort taken accelerated our green innovation commitments. The third strategic pillar of Apical 2030. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Pardamuan. And next, ladies and gentlemen, we'll move on to the Q&A session with our audience that have joined us virtually and of course on site today. And our committee have gathered a few questions from our audience on site. Can we please have it? Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Let's read the first question, and this question is from our media friend. It's from Business Indonesia to Mr. Bremen. Mr. Bremen, is there any significant targets or pillars that Apical 2030 would like to highlight?
Okay, thanks for the questions. Well, I think all these targets are important in certain aspects. While the world has given lots of attention to the emission reductions, also we are also aware of the Indonesian government's commitment towards emission reduction as well. But for other targets, in my view, it should equally important as well, because all these actually form a key pillars that achieve the ultimate goals of being sustainable in our operations, in our supply chain, also contributing to the emission reduction, and so including the communities and smallholders, etc. So I would say all these targets together will come to a very significant outcome that we like to achieve, or the impacts we want to bring about to the country, the communities, to the nation, etc., also to the climate. So to these questions, all targets are important. So it creates a balance, actually.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Bremen. And next question is from Media Gatra, and this question is addressed for Dato and also Mr. Bremen. How is the roadmap of decreasing 50% of greenhouse effect towards 2030? Maybe I'd like to go to Dato, you first for this.
So the reducing the carbon intensity by 50% by the year 2030. So we have a series of programs and projects that we are undertaking in order to have that reduction within our processes. Like for example, gradually shifting on the energy side to cleaner source of energy, to recycle wastewater, and so on. So and also as the new technology become available, we also aspire to be able to make use of other types of technology in order to hasten our carbon intensity reduction. For example, like the new buildings, like warehouses that we are constructing, we are actually planning to put on solar panels And even in places like Balikpapan, where we have a lake, within our complex, we are thinking, of installing floating solar panels, on the lake that actually fulfills two purposes. Number one, of course, using a clean solar energy for our process. Secondly, also with the solar panel covering the lake, that will also help to conserve, waters that we can use during the dry season. These are some examples.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yo. And for the similar question, we would also like to ask this to Mr. Bremen on what is the roadmap of decreasing 50% of greenhouse effect towards 2030?
Thanks for the questions. I think a few points that I'd like to address here. Firstly, Apical Group has adopted a very robust strategic development process, actually over the past 1 year, involving experts from the field, through various extensive studies, also the benchmarking, and also we adopted a top-down and bottom-up approach. The firstly, to help us set an ambitious target. Secondly, is to find out through this bottom-up approach whether it is something achievable for us or not. So this framework actually be very important for us to involve all the functional units in setting the target. So that's why, that's to ensure that we have a clear idea of how we are going to reach that by 2050. Secondly, things will change over the years, and it is a long time from here to 2050, but we still remain in good faith that we can see the industry movement and also government commitments and pledges, and we will foresee through this government initiative, and the companies will move together in the similar directions towards the emission reductions. And also by leveraging on the technology which is available today, and we expect more technology will come out in the next couple of years or even until 2050. That will make things feasible. So in a nutshell, I would like to say that even though we do not know all the technologies that are available today until 2050, but we remain confident that based on the strategic development framework, the bottom approach that we have, and some of the program actually we already designed internally, and some starting to implement, and some in the design or implementation stage later. By having this, by having what we have currently, and also building on the new technology which is coming out, we remain positive about how we are going to reach this 2050. But the matter of fact is, we are not. So nobody is not going to know what's going to happen to the next 20 and 30 years in terms of technology forward. But we believe by having, as long as we are doing it seriously, based on the current roadmap that we have, and we actually, this is something we're confident to achieve. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bremen. And next, there is a question for Mr. Pradeep. Mr. Pradeep, will there be a midpoint review of Apical 2030? If yes, when? Because we're still 8 years away from reaching our target, Mr. Pradeep.
I think the review has to be constant, and it also needs to be consistent, right? And as we constantly look at what we are doing, we must ensure that the commitment that we put forward remains relevant and ambitious. And as we do the constant review of the program, we can then look at ways to accelerate them and change them wherever it's required. So it has to be a constant process, and there's not going to be, it's going to be a daily constant process.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pradeep. And next question is for Peter. Peter, how confident are you that Apical will meet its target in 2030?
Yeah, I think we cannot work together. We cannot work alone. So we have to work together. So with together, I believe we can achieve our target, and then especially we have a few initiatives in the journey. So we quite confident.
Mm-hmm. Okay, harus confident ya Pak ya?
Yes.
Okay, next maybe to Pak Pardomawan, if you would like to add, how confident are you that Apical can reach its target by 2030?
I would say we have 100% confident to achieve this target.
Okay, 100% confident, yeah? Okay. Now, moving on, we have a question for Mr. Bremen again from our audience. Mr. Bremen, how is Apical supporting the Indonesia government's commitment in reducing carbon? Is there any target set for this under Apical 2030?
Yes, surely. So we're aware that the Indonesian government has a target to reduce emissions by 29% in 2030, and also net zero by 2060 or earlier. I think this is the right directions that industry and the government is moving. For Apical Group as a company, we are fully supportive of the government initiatives. That's why in this Apical 2030, as I shared earlier, there are several targets that will contribute to this national initiative. Firstly, through the emission reductions by adopting low carbon initiative and also by improving the energy efficiency. And we believe this will contribute to the national ambitions in terms of reducing emissions. Secondly, by working together with suppliers to protect forests is a way to really offset what is the carbon being emitted in the supply chain by forest protection and carbon sequestration through this 150,000 hectares. This will give a significant impacts to how the government as a whole can aggregate the emission reductions. And thirdly, also through building the biogas plants. This is also one effective way for us to reduce emissions in the supply chain through proper handling of the waste to reduce for methane capture. The other targets can be linked to that as well. For example, through our support to the villages, to the smallholders in terms of building a more sustainable villages, and also in terms of working together to protect the forests, etc. All these, I think, just part and parcel will be contributing to the bigger national debt. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Bremen. And ladies and gentlemen, sadly, this is the end of our Q&A session due to the limit time. Can we give a round of applause once again to all of our speakers today joining us on site, and of course, joining us virtually. We have Dato' Yohao, President of Apical Group, Mr. Pratipan Karunagaran, Executive Director of Apical Group, Mr. Bremen Yong, the Head of Sustainability of Apical Group, Peter Setiabudi, Director of Apical Group Balikpapan Operations, and Pardamuan Palindungan, the Director of Apical Oleochemicals in Marunda. And next, ladies and gentlemen, before we end this event, we would like to invite you for a photo session. Therefore, we would like to invite Mr. Lim Taekwon, the General Manager of Apical Marunda, for a photo session today here with us. Please join us on stage to capture this significant moment, the launching of Apical 2030. Please welcome Mr. Lim Taekwon on stage. Okay, let's give a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, to all of our speakers today for the launching of Apical 2030. Okay, please give us your best smile, gentlemen. Okay. Okay. In my count, 1, 2, 3. One more time, gentlemen. 1, 2, 3. Oh, they want to do a candid scene. Yeah, maybe you can. Oh yeah, if you would like to take off your mask, you're allowed to do so. Okay. Okay, one more time, okay, without the mask. But gentlemen, please, we need to keep our distance, maybe slightly apart from each other. That's okay? How is it, our media friends? Is it better now? Okay. On my count, 1, 2, 3, gentlemen, please give us your best smile. One more time, ladies and gentlemen. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Mr. Lim Taekwon, Pa Peter, and of course, Pa Pardamuan. Thank you very much once again for joining us in the dialogue session. Thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the Apical Launch 2030 has come to an end. Thank you very much to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending our event today on site and also virtually, and also, of course, to our media friends for joining us to launch Apical 2030. Stay healthy and stay safe, everyone. See you in another Apical event. Thank you very much and have a good day to all of us today.